Welcome to Gen X Journeys, the podcast that's all about rediscovering, reinventing, and thriving. I'm your host, Paul Stressner, and if you're part of Generation X, the show's for you. We dive into real stories of resilience, reinvention, and personal growth, all while celebrating the past and charging full speed into the future. Whether it's nostalgia-fueled throwbacks, inspiring conversations, or motivation to help you level up, Gen X Journeys is here to remind you your best days are not behind you. They're happening right now, and you're just getting started. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode with the guest of Gen X Journeys. And I'm Paul Stressner, and look who we have here. We have Adriana's here
Hey,
for
everybody.
a guest episode. So like we did with the Inspiring Journeys, we're going to start off with something we're grateful for. So if you'd like to start, Adriana.
Yeah. So I know a few of you have heard me on Paul's podcast recently. I had neck surgery, and I'm grateful for my surgeon, and the surgery went like amazing. I feel like I have a 20-year-old neck, and it's just I'm really grateful. I'm kicking ass, and I feel like I'm back to normal, and it's only been a couple months. So that's definitely. I woke up this morning, and I that was one of the first things I thought. I'm like, man, my neck feels good.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
yeah, I'm super grateful for that.
Great. All right, and then I would say that I'm thankful for as I'm rebranding this to Gen X Journeys. It's been an incredible experience so far, and I'm beyond thankful for the support I've received along the way. And today I just happen to have my two biggest advocates on this call. We have Adriana and Craig, and they would play each played pivotal roles in my journey. Like Adriana was the spark that ignited my passion for running again and started my running journey, the journey of the road runner, my 50-state journey. And Craig is helping me take a quantum leap into my own personal growth. And and then I also have to give a huge shout out to Diane Franklin. I don't know if anybody happened to check out our Gen X book club. She's an actress that was in um, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Better Off Dead, and she had written a few books. We had her on the show, and she just said some words that it just clicked in me. She pointed out that what I was doing with the Gen X Book Club was truly unique, and that really is realization. It just set everything into motion. It was like a missing puzzle piece. All of a sudden, everything just like fell into place. So it's just amazing how like one little word can just like you know jolt you. And so I'm just grateful for the journey and all the people who've helped me shape it, and all of you listening too. Because if you're here, you're on your own journey of reinvention, and I can't wait to see where it takes you as well. So, and I couldn't think of a more perfect guest to kick things off than today's guest. Since discovering him on my personal development has grown by leaps and bounds. And I first heard of him on the Passion Love Pursuit podcast just before the release of his incredible book, The Reinvention Formula. And from that moment on, I knew this was someone I needed to follow. And so Craig has become a mentor of mine. And while he may not technically be Gen X, the lessons he teaches and the life he leads align perfectly for what Gen X Journeys is all about, and reinvention, resilience, and the power of transformation at any stage of life. And so, for those of you that don't already know him, Craig Siegel is a Wall Street Journal and USA Today best-selling author and global keynote speaker, TEDx speaker, and the host of the CLS Experience podcast. And he walked away from a successful career on the Wall Street during the pandemic to pursue his true calling, helping people shatter limiting beliefs and step into their full potential. And he's an 8-time marathoner. We got that running link here.
Nice.
And he's a mindset master, and he has built one of the most engaged personal development communities in the world. And his work is endorsed by legends like Jim Quick and Ed Milet. And his mission is to help people stop playing it safe and go all in on the life that they're meant to be on. And let me tell you something, you're not hearing this by accident today. So you're catching this episode for a reason. This is your season to transform. I'm so excited for you because I guarantee you that Craig is going to say something today that'll hit you deep and light a fire under you, and I'll give you that push that giant leaps are going to start happening in your life, and it's incredible. So get ready because today we are breaking through barriers, rewriting our stories, and stepping into the greatest version of ourselves. Welcome to Gen X Journeys, Craig Siegel.
My goodness. How do I live up to that? Quite the intro, quite the build up, but
You have a lot to live up to now.
that's right. But it's very meaningful to be here with you guys. I'm super pumped. Let's go deep. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Now, is there something that you'd like to add to for your grateful list?
For me,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to have this conversation with you guys. And for anyone that's going to listen or might catch the replay, hopefully we can trigger them in a proactive way to help them make some meaningful change and really ascend to their next level. And hopefully that leads to helping a lot of people, changing the world, shifting some consciousnesses, and unapologetically making a lot of money as well. So grateful for the opportunity to be here today with you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yes, I guess we can start from the beginning, because a lot of people, our age, they're had dreams that are dormant and everything, and your journey of reinvention is incredibly inspiring. So, can you take us back to that moment when you decided to walk away from Wall Street and fully commit to your new path? And what was the turning point for you when that made you decide to start CLS?
So I, like most people, always felt a tug at my soul that I was here for something more,
Mhm.
but I was unable to put it together. I didn't have clarity on what that was. It's funny because I was just having a conversation with my dad about a week ago, and I was saying to him, I was like, you never pushed anything on me when I was growing up. Like there's a movie that's out called King Richard, where Will Smith won the Academy Award. And basically, he plays Serena Venus Williams' father in real life, and he was really pushing them from an early age to become the best ever. I think of like Tiger Woods' dad. And my parents didn't do that for me. Not doesn't mean it's good or bad. They let me figure things out on my own. And so as a result, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I graduated college and was thinking about what my next move is. I was ambitious, I was hungry, and I was always infatuated with stocks. So I ended up on Wall Street. Also lived in New York. It's pretty convenient. When I got to Wall Street, I really started to become a man. I learned discipline, accountability, responsibility to be on my own, and to really make things happen, for lack of a better word, instead of waiting for things to happen. It was also at this time that I stumbled upon human development, and I started going down the rabbit hole. I was infatuated with what I was seeing, different modalities such as NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. You can reprogram your brain, you can elevate your confidence, you can create better relationships. And I just began to take all of that and apply it to different areas of my life to be successful. And again, different definitions of successful, different seasons of life. At that time on Wall Street, success was measured by ascending, rising up the ladder, making more money. And so I started doing that in a big way. And I escalated pretty fast and I became one of the top producers at my firm. I also utilized personal development in other areas of life, like working on myself, trying to become a better soul, utilizing that for relationships. And it was great. But the arena of Wall Street was a lot of fun until it wasn't. And I had begun to outgrow it. And so I spent about 8 years doing the stock thing. And then I pivoted and I started my own business, also in finance, but a little different, more like loan oriented. And even though lucrative wasn't why I'm here, I felt out of alignment. I know a lot of your listeners can relate to that. And so even though I was grateful to have my own business, I was waking up every day and I used to have to prime my state, like manufacture enthusiasm to go to my job.
Mhm.
And I look back now because when preparing for a TED talk, I was doing a lot of research. It shows that only 20% of Americans are finding purpose in the work that they do. That means the other 80% aren't really into their job. That was me.
Mhm.
And so, look, spoiler alert, our souls are here to expand. And the one thing that our soul resents is contraction. And nothing against Wall Street. It served its purpose. It was great. I had begun to expand bigger than that particular container offered me. And so I began to feel out of alignment because I was still there. A couple personal things happened at once as well. Found myself in a little bit of a dark place. I was definitely drinking more than I'd like to admit. And I was really looking to find myself. and I started running marathons. And that was pivotal for me, guys, because I'd never been a runner before. You couldn't pay me to run. But I didn't grow up in, if I'm being honest, in this crazy, like uncomfortable atmosphere. And so I was looking for marathons to put myself in very uncomfortable situations with the opportunity to expand my vessel or my capacity. And it was very uncomfortable. And I started to get really good at them, started to run fast. But ultimately, I wasn't looking to become a professional. I was just looking to expand myself. Still at my job. Fast forward the pandemic, lockdown. I shut down my office for what I thought would be 2 weeks at the time. Come home, and for the first time in my adult life, I didn't have an organized work schedule. And so, if not now, then when? And I really created the time to connect to, for me, that's creator. Someone else might say God, divine, source, universe, whatever's good for you. I want to be delicate about that. And when I did that, I started channeling downloads. And it was in that moment that I realized all this personal development that I became obsessed with, that I utilized, it was more than just a compliment or a passion. This is actually my assignment. And so I began to think of turning personal development into a mission, a career. And so I reverse engineered what this could look like. I thought of speaking all over the world, book deal, podcast, TED Talk, coaching community. I said, well, what's step one? Probably should start building a brand, putting myself out there, adding value to the world. And so right before I pulled the trigger, I had this moment. And this is very key for your listeners because we're talking about reinventing yourself and trying to find that moment. Right before you take the plunge or take action, you will feel fear, doubt, insecurities, judgment, imposter syndrome, unworthiness, and everything in between. And it's in that moment that you must not succumb to the temptation of the ego. And so I felt it. I considered the alternative, which is going back and choosing to be miserable. To me, that was death. And so my fear of stepping into the unknown began to transform into enthusiasm. I started my CLS brand. I started adding value and putting myself out there. And for the first time in my life, I was in alignment. And over the last 4.5 years, the brand exploded, speaking all over. As you guys know, Wall Street Journal bestseller, top 0.05% podcast, just got married to my soulmate, all the things. Left Wall Street. It was that moment in the lockdown that I really connected and then was brave enough to lean into it. So definitely a long-winded answer, but now all your listeners have some context.
I know a lot of people, feel like it's too late to reinvent themselves once they're lined up in their job and everything. Because frankly, I know at least when I was growing up, you were told you go to college and get a job and you work at that company until you retire, have a family and all that. So you kind of like force yourself in that box, and that's just not you.
But just the narrative that we're taught,
Yeah.
society or our parents or whomever, we come in contact with that narrative, and then we begin to believe it. We begin to believe that it's too late, or you're too old, or it's a saturated space, or what makes us special, who wants to listen to us, or I don't have the resources. But if you just take a minute to just ask yourself, are any of those insecurities actually true? The answer is no. They're just narratives. So what if we were willing to shift the narrative to what if it works out? How good can you stand it? What if this thing really takes off? What if it doesn't take time? It just takes alignment. What if because I'm starting at this age, now I have all the wisdom that you just can't have at 20 years old?
Mm-hmm.
Begin to give that energy. Now you open up opportunities and possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We talk about it often, removing those limiting beliefs that we have. Yeah. You talk with a lot of people. Do you have a lot of common limiting beliefs that people tell you about that are holding them back, and then you see them, you're able to get them to break out of it, help them break out of it, and then they take off? Is there's a lot of common ones that you find?
Yeah, I see it all the time. I think that's what holds people back. It's because, look, this might feel triggering, but that's why we're here today, right?
Mhm.
Wherever you are in your life is a result of what you think to be possible, right? And so that is triggering, or it could be very exciting. It's triggering because now you're like, wow, I must not really value myself or have certainty, which is why I'm settling for less than I know impossible. But the other narrative is, wow, if that's true, what if I do the inner work and begin to expand what I believe to be possible for myself. Now, all of a sudden, just like that, we raise the ceiling on what's possible and we can break through that. And so a lot of people think that they're unworthy of achieving success or going to their next level or making a major difference. But if I'm being honest with you guys, the one thing that no one likes to talk about, but I see often, is the fear of judgment from others. What if I look silly? What if I fail and people see that? And that fear of judgment cripples people. It's crazy. And I would just say for anyone that might have experienced that, if you reevaluate why you wanted to do something in the first place, and it's really from the right consciousness, meaning I just want to be the giver here. I just want to add value. I just want to help. Then that consciousness will eliminate the imposter syndrome. But if you're coming at this from the receiver consciousness, what can I get from this? I wonder how I'm going to look on camera. I hope I get paid for this. Then the insecurities will power through and you'll never be able to overcome those. So anytime you're feeling fear of judgment, circle back, reevaluate why you're doing it in the first place. There's always a giver and a receiver consciousness. And to be clear, yes, we want to make a lot of money. We could do better things with that. That's all great. But that should be secondary, with the first priority is to just help and share your wisdom with no agenda. And when you come from that consciousness, it squashes and eliminates the fear of judgment, the insecurities, and the imposter syndrome.
Did you write your book during the pit? First of all, I loved your book. I love your writing style. I have ADHD, and I was reading. I'm like, this chapter's perfect. Like, you get to, well, you know what? I don't like fluff. Like, fluff for me is really hard. Like,
Same.
I need the point. Like, what's the point of this? Like, because when there's so much fluff, I just lose. You lost me at hello, And your book is just like, here's the point. I love the quotes at the top. They're really inspiring. And then here's the point. This is the chapter, and we're moving on to like this. These are the steps. Like it's really, it is. Paul said it's the way you speak, and then I heard you today in the CLS meeting, and I was like, it is definitely the way he speaks. Like it was perfect, and it flowed. Like, did you write that during the pandemic when you thought about like just reinventing yourself, or was that kind of secondary to you making the decision, or did you just say I'm going to write a book and where I'm going to get myself out there?
So a little bit of both. First of all, thank you. I received that. Yeah. And if one thing's obvious, it's that I didn't have a ghostwriter. That is like people you can get. So when I started and I put together the whole vision and I claimed my position on what I wanted to do with this, I wanted to manifest a book deal at some point. I personally didn't want to self-publish my own book. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right.
I just wanted to be connected to a major publishing house. I thought that it added credibility, just what I desired. And so I planted that seed and I put it out there. And then I just kept building the podcast, building the community, speaking all over, adding value. And then our publisher, Wiley, came to me with a proposal. I didn't even have a manuscript at the time. So to clarify, it was an idea. Absolutely. I wanted to write a book, wanted to have a book deal, but I didn't write it yet. When Wiley came to us and renegotiated a big book deal, they gave me a very tight turnaround. They said, okay, we'll give you the deal, but here's what we want. We want to ride the momentum. And so I didn't have much time. So I'll never forget. I sat down every single day, December 2022, for 1 month. And I wrote every single morning for about an hour and a half. I would not reread what I wrote. It's a good trick because then you get sidetracked. Just keep writing the first draft. And I finished the book in December 2022. We launched it in August 2023. It was generally USA Today bestseller, and the rest is history. So I did not write it yet. It was an idea and a concept, but I did not have the manuscript. But when it came time, because I had the accountability of the publisher, I just channeled, it just flowed out of me.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely you flowing on paper. I loved it. It really was good. I enjoyed, and just like your life story too, like what you've been through. And there's something, I appreciate people like you who have something shitty happen and like, this is for a reason. It's not, you don't have that poor me attitude. You're like, this happened. Now there's a reason for it. You just have to find the lesson and like why you have an injury or why you got sick, or, is the universe slowing you down so you pay attention? And that's a big message. I think a lot of people, like when something crappy happens, they don't actually take the time to understand like there's a reason. Like anytime personally, if I because I'm a personal trainer and I'm very active, and I get injuries sometimes. I have old traumas come up, and when I have to like slow down, I'm like, all right, the universe wants me to focus somewhere else because I'm moving 100 miles an hour. I'm not paying attention to the little things anymore. So it is having that attitude. I think someone like you kind of having that attitude and putting it out there is really awesome to see.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it's a different approach when you realize that everything that happens for you in some capacity is a net positive. So even if you can't see it in the moment and it hurts and it stings,
Right.
just that certainty that this is happening for my benefit, although I don't realize it yet, but I can't wait to look back and extract the lesson, that helps minimize the time that you allocate staying in that dark place.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, well, even the pandemic itself, I think it was kind of forcing everybody to to slow down, but then not everybody kind of took advantage of
Yeah.
that. Some people know everything there is to know about Tiger King, and then there's people like like Craig that created CLS. Yeah, but for me, it didn't do make any difference to me because I happened to start school. I went back to school and got my master's in creative writing, and I had gone back in August of 2019, and it was all online. So from the pandemic hit, nothing changed. My work was all online anyway, so that never changed. But I know it affected a lot of people, and they couldn't figure out how to pivot. And
You got to make the most of
Yeah.
opportunity, right? Like for me, and again, I was coming out of a dark place. I knew I was here for more. I didn't know what it was just yet. But when the world shut down, right? I was thinking like I don't love my current reality. So all of a sudden I have this, I don't know when I'll ever have this opportunity ever for the rest of my life. Like you literally can't do anything if you want to. You can't even really go outside. And so I just looked at it like, wow, I better take advantage of
The
this.
time. Yeah.
And for really anyone that's listening right now,
mm,
if you don't love your current movie or your current reality, then let's have a sense of urgency to get clear or figure something else out. Because you're no good to the world if you don't love what you're doing anyway. You're definitely more effective and more productive when you're in a higher vibe. And that's usually the byproduct of being in alignment and being in your calling and doing what you love. So for anybody, you don't need a lockdown like I did. You don't need a pandemic to reassess. Find some time this weekend. No excuses. You create the time. If you don't love your current reality, or if there's just anything that you really want to improve, take some time and let's reassess it. And let's really get better connected and more aligned to what we actually desire.
I feel like another thing that really helped you is because you started this, you surrounding yourself with amazing people that are doing amazing things, and you're surrounding yourself with that energy, and it just keeps snowballing from there, in a positive way. Yeah, do you think that helped a lot too, getting
Then you get
around the right
momentum.
people? Hmm.
It's like the winds at your back. And
Hmm.
also, I don't know how spiritual you guys want to get today, but assuming that everybody believes that there's something else going on here beyond that logic, you can connect to that. That energy loves to see your desire, doesn't love to see you just sitting there wasting potential. So the more that you put yourself out there and get uncomfortable and push the envelope, the more divine surprise support will open up for you.
Yeah, actually, the other day when I was training with Adriana, we were kind of talking about Kabbalah for a little bit. I don't know, do you want to touch on that? Because I know that you've been really involved with that lately.
Yeah. Yeah. So over the years, like I was saying earlier, I would come across different modalities. And one of them was Kabbalah, the wisdom of Kabbalah. And it's been around for over 4,000 years. It's not a religion, it's a spirituality, it's a practice system, if you will. And I would read a couple books, I would love them, I would take notes, and then I would be on to the next thing. But then a little less than 2 years ago, for whatever reason, I ended up at the center here in Manhattan, took a class, and still in that class. Now we're on like Kabbalah 8 or 9. And now I've also been asked to be a mentor for younger students coming up. I have a very, very close relationship with my teacher. We do one-on-ones and so forth. And I've really gravitated towards this wisdom. And basically, what the premise is that Kabbalah says that our soul came here as a vessel to receive what we would call the light of the creator. Let's just call that energy, quantum, divine, or whatever's good for you. And our soul is that capacity, that vessel that's able to receive that. And it gives us a blueprint, a system on how to stay connected to that so that we're constantly channeling that type of energy and we're able to achieve fulfillment, love, relationships, money, abundance, prosperity. Before that, I thought success was defined by things, materialistic things, and monetary gains. And what anybody can attest to is when you get those things on the journey, they're like sparks of light and then they're fleeting. And it's not that we shouldn't desire to make a lot more money. We should. We should just never expect that anything external will actually create inner fulfillment because it won't. It's just a thing. And so Kabbalah gives us a system to expand our capacity to receive more light or energy or abundance or prosperity, whatever is good for you guys. That's kind of the premise of it, and gives us the blueprint on how to stay connected, how to overcome our ego, and how to transform our life. And so bringing that spirituality into my life helped me find my soulmate, helped me expand the business a great deal, find the best relationships. And so in case you haven't noticed, I can't get enough of it. But I don't like to put that stuff on anybody. If anything that we're talking about here today is creating some sort of desire, feel free to reach out or just go, look at a book on Kabbalah, to each their own. But I could just tell you guys, this system has really helped me a great deal in all areas of life. It's been extremely fruitful and helpful for me.
Oh, another thing I wanted to bring up too, it's so funny, is in your book you mentioned it too, where you kind of got the idea from CLS while you were out running, and I got the idea of Journey the Road Runner doing my 50-state journey while I was running too. So it's amazing how like you're out in nature getting that movement in, and it starts getting the juices flowing. So
It's like moving meditation. I would even say
Yeah.
running, I found it during a season of my life where I was in a lot of pain, emotional pain. And so running kind of created an outlet for me. But I'm romantic about running. I love it so much. And even today, like going for a run, there's nowhere else to be except on that run. You're very present and it really gives you an opportunity to connect. So for me, again, that would be God, creators. For someone else, that might be something else. But it's a beautiful thing to be out there, to be moving and to be available to really build that connection. And obviously it's good for you physically as well. Doesn't hurt. And so whether it's running or anything else, and you're a trainer, you can attest to this,
Yeah.
find something that's a little bit different than your day to day that creates that space for you to maybe be able to receive some of those downloads that change the world.
Well, I think sometimes like you talk about discomfort a lot in a positive way. And I think having the discomfort, like pushing you out of your comfort zone, it also clears your head of the garbage. Cause it's more like, wow, this is hard, it's sucking. And then your mind's a little more open because you're not focused on like the nonsense, I got to get online and do this thing. I got to, your head clears out, running or any kind of, I think, especially cardiovascular exercise, like where your, legs are moving, your arms are going, like your head tends to clear up because it starts to put you in that uncomfortable zone where you try to think about something else and more, intelligent things come, I feel, when you're in that position. We were laughing about what you were saying on the CLS meeting today about the manifestation, how some people were just like, I'm just going to sit and manifest. And it's like, to both of you guys, I've had some runs where I was running and like thought like, this is what I want to do. I'm going to do this. I had a really lousy apartment at one point and I used to run through this neighborhood and I'm like, I'm going to move into this neighborhood. Like this is the neighborhood I'm going to end up in. And I did. And it was awesome. But it was, I worked hard. I worked extra hard. I talked to people about where I wanted to live. And it just so happens someone, who I spoke to at one point was like, hey, my old apartment that I lived in for like years is up for rent. And it was like a really great apartment, super affordable. We have a place called the Parade Route in Bristol. It's like the oldest 4th of July parade. So it's like Christmas in Bristol. And the apartment was right on the Parade Route. And it was exactly, and I run the street every day. I'm like, I'm living here. Like, this is what I'm going to do. And my head would just be set. But to your point, I didn't just think it and then go back to work. Like I worked at it, I worked really hard and I looked around and I put my nose to the grindstone and I ended up in that situation, it's very relative to the running situation because my mind was just in that zone for a while until it happened.
Beautiful share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's so helpful for everybody listening, right? Because you had this desire.
Yeah.
And then you awakened the desire and you match that with the willingness, right? And so that's bringing in the spirituality, but also the practicality. And with that recipe, it's almost impossible to not manifest what you desire.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's almost like I don't know if you like to speak on like reverse engineering. So you come up with a goal first and then figure out how to get there. Because I think a lot of people, be included, there's something you want to do, but then you freeze because you don't know where to start. So how do you
Yeah.
get a game plan going for that? Especially as as we're get midlife, we've been stuck in this rut for a while, a lot of us, and then how do you know get the energy to start making that change? What steps do you need to take?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is kind of a big answer, but get in alignment. Take some time, figure out, get clear on what you want to do with your life, with this precious life that we have, at least in this particular carnation. Reincarnation, different conversation. I don't know how crazy you guys want to get.
We like getting crazy, Craig. I don't know if you've heard any of Paul's podcast, but we don't, there's not really any boundaries sometimes.
Right. So look, if I came into $1 billion tonight, I would still keep my schedule for the rest of the week. Maybe next week I'd reassess, and there's certain things I might delegate. But I love this stuff so much. I would only use that billion to extend the reach and the impact. That's all. I love this stuff. And to be clear, 4 years ago, totally different story. It took me 35 years. Now, some might say, oh, wow, that's quick. Or some might say, oh, that took you a long time. Regardless, that was my path, my journey. So you want to find and identify what your gifts are, the gifts that were given to you, you're the manager of them. How can you actualize your gifts and share those with the world and do something that really sets your soul on fire? And if you're fortunate enough to take the time to do that and get to that place, life is unbelievable. And you don't have to always manufacture excitement in your day-to-day, right? Because even for me, like some of the days are very long, guys. I have a lot of coaching calls, a lot of speaking engagements, podcasts, whatever the case may be. At the end of the day, I'm tired, but I can't wait to get at it again tomorrow. I'm not depleted, big difference. I used to get before this. And so, look, it's not to say that there won't be a tough day, or especially as an entrepreneur, there are definitely challenges, obstacles, and a ton of unpredictability, right? But when you're in alignment and love what you do, it's really just problem solving. It's actually exciting. And so a big answer, I know, and maybe we come back and we go deeper on this, but get in alignment with your life, what your gifts are, how you want to share this with the world, what you want to do, and a way to monetize and make money. And from alignment, everything that you're looking has a perspective of how can we make this better? How can we expand it? How can we elevate it? It's never you have to manufacture fake excitement. And so I know from experience having to do that compared to loving what you do and knowing that you're in your power. Doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement. Of course there is. It's a lifelong transformation. But you really want to take some time, if you're listening to this episode right now, to get clear on what your gifts are and how you can begin to share those with the world and unapologetically make some money doing so. Get clear on that, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, that kind of makes me think of that phrase. What do you think of the phrase "fake it till you make it"?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
And here's why. I would much rather people listening right now, instead of fake it till you make it, begin to have certainty, right? So let's just say you're not where you want to be just yet. Instead of faking it and pretending, have certainty in your ability to show up at the level that you're at and exceed those expectations. So you don't need to fake something. You just need to flex your certainty muscle and really have conviction on what you're doing and what you bring to the table. That's real. I prefer that as opposed to anything faking.
Yeah. Being more authentic. Hey, yeah, it's amazing feeling when you come into alignment. I'm finding it with this since I, got this idea to rebrand because for years I started off with Return of the 80s and then I started my running journey and I kept those separate, but I wanted to find a way to combine them, but I couldn't find it in an authentic way. And now everything just fell into place and it feels so right. And yeah, I was even telling Adriana, it seems like every morning, I never set my alarm unless I have Adriana in the morning, and then I don't want to be late. So just to be safe, I set my alarm, but that's it. But I've been waking up at 4:30 in the morning every morning, just excited to start the day. Even though I have a day job, but I'm excited to, work on this stuff. And yeah.
Beautiful. And I'm very proud of you, Paul. And I've seen a tremendous transformation over the last, I would say, a little over a year. And the
Mhm.
best part is you're just getting warmed up.
Yeah,
And I want to acknowledge you for that.
literally. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Paul, I've been training Paul for a while, and he used to get pretty bad seasonal depression. And this year I've noticed, like, I ask him in our sessions, like, how's that going? Because this year it's like the first year it doesn't seem like it's like crushing. Like his
Mhm.
attitude is just like a lot more positive and like, well, and I think being aware of it and acknowledging it and being like, all right, this is something that happens. It's not a forever thing. I think you're moving past it better. So I definitely think him being in the group is helping a lot.
Beautiful. I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, even my running, I started a journey the road runner. As said, I'll do a 5K, 50 states. And now I attempted my first marathon this past year. And if it wasn't for a time cutoff, I would have finished that. But yeah, so I'll do it this year. But yeah, so even that I've like, took a giant leap for that. So yeah.
But keep
Uh,
pushing yourself. And then, that's how you expand is by willing to get uncomfortable, having patience, sitting in the discomfort, and then stretching yourself. And you will continue to expand your capacity on what you can receive.
yeah.
Yeah. Craig, I want to definitely, when you talk about like being by yourself and like connecting like that or having like when you in the pandemic you had the space. I don't know, I sent you my book. I'm not sure if you had time to check it out, but I was incarcerated. I had a terrible like start to life. Like I was just a train wreck. And when I got incarcerated, like I knew, I'm like, all right, things have to change. And I took the opportunity to actually like I'm like, now I have all the time in the world to like worry about myself because I have nothing else to do. And I really I got a lot of books. I actually read about some of the Kabbalah because I was trying to find some kind of faith. And I used that time to really grow and get better. That's kind of where I found fitness. And it was very much just me and what I'm going to do with my life. And I had that time. So I think it is important. Like it's really, I feel a lot of what you say when you need the time, you need to make the time for yourself to figure out like what you want. Because if you don't give yourself that space, it's like, I think I wouldn't have been where I probably would be dead at this point if I was on the same track. And when I got incarcerated, I wouldn't use the word happy to describe it, but I was like, I felt at peace when it happened. I'm like, now I can finally start to like do something, which a lot of people would go the other way because it's definitely not an easy situation to be in to like grow from. But my whole purpose was that I needed to grow and become a better person. And this is the space I'm going to need to do it in. So when the pandemic hit, I was like, whoa, this is easy. And I have tons of time to worry about myself again, because I at least like I could get food delivered, which was a lot different than prison. And to your point, it's like when the pandemic happened, I was like, wow, I have all this time to like focus on other things now where like your neighbors are drinking all the wine in the liquor store and the other people are like, oh, I don't know what to do. I can't get a haircut. Like I looked at it as another point where I was, like, but I really, I make jokes with Paul all the time. Like, a lot of people should just go to prison because it does give you like that space in your head, but it does take a certain mentality too. I think I was at a point in my life where I needed to change or I was going to die. And, the creator basically was like, you need this. You're going to sit you in here for a little while and you're going to get your shit together and then you'll be out and you'll be a new person. And that's pretty much what happened,
That's really beautiful. Thank you for the vulnerability for sharing that.
Yeah.
If we don't proactively create the change that we need to make, it'll be forced upon us. And
Right.
sometimes that's more painful. Either way, hopefully it'll get done. But ideally, we want to be proactive with it. So thank you for sharing that. And for anyone listening, what can you do that's tangible from what you just said? Create space, put time in your calendar, like have some blocks to literally have nothing scheduled and just download. Like the best ideas that change the world, our path, alignment, it doesn't happen when we're always grinding. We're just getting stuff done. But
Right.
when we're able to kind of disconnect from that and reconnect to source, divine, greater God, Hanukkah, Harry, Jesus, whatever your thing is, that's when you can channel that endless energy and you get the ideas to work on yourself, to make a shift, to pivot, to change course. And so don't wait for what like you and I both did, where it was kind of forced upon us.
Hmm.
For anybody listening right now, if nothing else, be proactive and create the space for that.
You've had some incredible guests on your podcast, CLS Experience. And I noticed from when was doing Inspiring Journeys, I learned a lot from my guests. Did you have any big aha moments that stand out to you that you learned from anybody that you've had on your show?
I think something that's probably unexpected that you probably weren't expecting is they're all souls, right? Like whether it's Hollywood actresses like Lisa Silverstone or Suzanne Summers or Brian Hawkins and these athletes or these billionaires, they're all a soul.
Hmm.
And being able to connect with that soul, you have the ability to disarm them and really just have powerful, beautiful conversations. And I think that's cool because I know a lot of us are intimidated or we put people on a pedestal that have achieved a different status than us. And really, what they've shown is that they just have a bigger vessel, meaning that they have a bigger desire to achieve what it is that they desire. And the reason why that's so exciting is because that's something that we can work on. We can continuously expand our capacity. And so one of the coolest things I've noticed is that no matter how quote unquote successful somebody is, they're just a soul, just like us. And we can disarm them. We don't have to put them on a pedestal or be in awe of them. The person that we should be in awe of is greater. Everyone else is just a soul. And it's about how do we really connect with that person and go deep and have an unbelievable conversation. And that's one of the things that I've really appreciated the most about talking to people that have achieved a lot in their life so far.
So I guess for those listening right now who are ready to take action, so all excited. What's one thing they could do today is start their reinvention journey?
Couple
I guess.
things. I would reinforce some of the stuff we talked about today, right? Like even what Adriana was saying about create the space. Don't wait for jail or a pandemic. Create the space. Another thing that we spoke on earlier today, if your listeners weren't familiar with, claim your position. Find out who you are. What do you represent? And you claim that to the world, and the world will have no choice but to take notice. But that's only when we get very clear on what we want to do, be, and achieve. And so don't play small and think that the ego is right. It's too late. We don't have the experience, whatever the case may be. None of that is actually true. So when you sit down, hopefully you create space in this conversation to really think about what you want to do, get in alignment and so forth. I encourage you to not think so much about what's possible and instead focus on what you actually desire. This way, we can be proactive in not limiting ourselves on what's actually possible. And then ask yourself this question, whether things are going good or things are going not so good. Always ask yourself this, what else is possible?
Yeah, and that brings me to something you say a lot. Divorce the outcome, marry the process, and that's finally after all these years, it's finally clicking with me. I'm getting it now because I'm loving doing this podcast. I don't have specific, oh, I want to be a number one podcaster right now. I just love doing this, and it's the process and just growing as I go along. So, yeah, so I love that saying that you say.
I
Beautiful,
like that.
beautiful. I
Mhm.
love it.
Yeah. Um,
And just real quickly for you, take the momentum of this conversation, leverage it, and you keep playing bigger and keep getting awesome guests on your show that you can go deep with this arm and have great conversations with because you're going to do a great job. They're going to share it and it's going to help you extend your reach so that you can help more people.
yeah.
So even for you, I encourage you to always think what else is possible and try to find out where you might be limiting yourself and then question those limitations because they're not real.
Yeah, thank you for that. And you're right because once I made this decision to start going this way, then I started posting daily quotes on all the social medias, and a few people have messaged me and said thank you for that. I needed to hear that today. If I can get a bigger reach and inspire more people, because there's a lot of negativity in this world, quite frankly, and we need to lift people up. So yeah,
Beautiful.
so I was just keeping on that journey.
Good.
Do you want to say what's next for you as CLS? Are big projects coming up? You want to promote some stuff you have coming up?
If anybody felt any type of way listening to this conversation, if something that we said triggered you in a positive way, or you just want to go deeper, I would just encourage you to stay close, whatever that looks like for you. We obviously have a community. There's many things that we do. We do these webinars, courses. You could join our free texting community. Just text 917-634-3796. And then you get some free nuggets and updates and pieces of wisdom throughout the week. And the desire right now is to take this to a whole nother level by bringing a lot of the spiritual principles and the system of Kabbalah, and just taking the business to a whole nother level with the number one priority on how many more people can we help? How many more consciousness can we shift? And so big plans in the works for that. But in regards to today, I would just say, if anything that we said today spoke to you, find out a way to stick around and stay close.
Uh, yeah, Adriana, did you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
Um, no, I think we covered. I was definitely excited about this and just excited to chat with you. I love the book. I really do. I'm trying to get my wife to read it now. She's not a big reader, but I think
There's also an Audible, and it's
all
my
right,
choice.
that'll
Yeah.
actually work. The audiobooks that I can get her to do. You
There you
know,
No
go.
excuses.
every now and then I see her with the book and I'm like, what's going on? So there's a long line for the paper ones, but I'll definitely hook her up with that. Yeah, I really loved your book. I was very excited to chat with you today.
Hey, John, thank you so much for saying
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
All right, and then yeah, do you want to say where people can find you?
Oh yeah. Actually, my company's Soul Friend Yoga. And if you're listening today, capital SOUL will get you 20% off. It's yoga mats and athleisure wear. And partial proceeds go to fund the mission to help animal shelters, local animal shelters, and community programs. So, love for some support from you guys. And obviously, you can use that discount code whenever. You can reach me if you want to DM me on there. I'm not a huge social media person, so you can definitely reach me to the companies, or my email is adriana@soulfriendyoga.com.
Craig, do you want to give your information where people can contact you?
Yeah, again, text us 917-634-3796. Anywhere you buy books, the Reinvention Formula. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, the CLS Experience. And then social media at Craig Siegel _CLS. Come say hello. I'd love to interact.
Yeah, those ways that when I had heard you on Erica's podcast, the Passion Love Pursuit, and I loved what you were saying, because I was just starting my personal development journey, and then you talked about running, so I said, oh, I gotta follow this guy when I got the book and everything, and then I followed you, and then you DM'd me right away, and that's how we got connected. So yeah,
Beautiful.
amazing. Yeah.
I love that connection. Cool. No coincidences.
Yeah, for
Nope.
sure. For sure. And I just want to thank everybody for listening, and keep pushing forward and keep showing up, and just keep at it, and just be, as I always close out, be excellent to each other and party on, dudes. All right, thank you so much, everybody. Take care. And remember,
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes!
sit, Lizzie, sit. Good dog.